Hi, I am Elizabeth Chappell from Quilters Candy, and I am chatting with you today about the quilting tools you need to get started quilting. And if you click the link below, you will get this free PDF. It'll just go straight to your inbox. You can print it off. It will have everything that I go over today. So let's get started. The first thing that you're going to need is a sewing machine. I right now have a Bernina 570 QE. It's a Quilters edition. And this was not my first machine. I love it, but you don't have to start off with all the bells and whistles. I would start off with the nicest machine you can get. I know if you have a machine that gives you trouble, it might put a bad taste about sewing and quilting, and you don't want that to put you off. So get the nicest machine that you can get. Then with your machine, you're gonna want some quilting needles and sewing needles. So whatever comes, you can get a universal needle, that will work just fine. More specific for quilting, that means going through the 3 layers, the top, the batting, and the backing. There's a 75/11 and a 90/14 size needle. That's if you want to get more specific, but a universal needle will do. And you'll want to have some extra needles on hand in case a needle breaks. After each project, you want to replace your needle. They get a little dull. And I know from personal experience that if a needle breaks and you don't have one on hand, it's kind of a hassle to go and find one or wait. So I would just start with a few extras on hand. Then when you get your machine set up, you will want thread. So this is Gutermann thread, which I really like. It is 100% polyester, and this is Aurifil thread. It's 100% cotton. They both work just as great for me. I don't have a preference over polyester or cotton. But I do recommend starting with white. It just goes with everything. It doesn't totally show up. As you keep quilting and sewing, you might want to get a little more adventurous with the colors, but I would start with white. Then you will want a ruler. And this is a 6.5 by 24.5. You can get 6 inch by 24 inch. And this is pretty standard. It can do all the things that you need a ruler to do. There are a lot of different rulers, and some of them really come in handy, but this really can get everything done. This is a Creative Grids ruler, and I love these rulers because on the back they have little clear grippy dots and strips. So when you place it on your fabric and you're cutting, it doesn't slip and slide. It kind of keeps your cutting pretty accurate. So I like Creative Grids, but really any ruler will do, but this is a good size to start with. And with your ruler, you're going to want a cutting mat. So mine is on here right now, if you can see it. And you don't need to start off with as big of a mat as I have here. 24 inch by 18 inch is all that you really need. This is a bit bigger. What have we got here? It's 36 by 24 inch. But you definitely need a cutting mat because if you cut on another surface, it'll nick it up and leave some marks. So make sure to get a cutting mat. And to cut your fabric with is a rotary cutter. I have 2 different rotary cutters here. This is a 45mm and a 60mm. Both are great. I use both. I personally prefer this one. It's ergonomic, so it doesn't hurt your wrist the more that you cut, but also I have kids and it has a lock on it. So right now the lock is on. If you take the lock off, you can put the blade out, and then when you're done, lock it again. So if your kids come, they don't put the blade out. So I like that, just a matter of preference. You are also going to need some pins for your quilting. As you go along, you're taking pieces of fabric, cutting them, putting them together, and feeding them through your machine. So in order to make the fabric not slide around while you're sewing, you're gonna pin it in place. And these are some of my favorite. They're Tulip brand pins, but really any pin will do. So doesn't matter, just anything that will pin your fabric together. You're also going to want a lot of safety pins. So these are 2 inches, I believe. Let me see, yep, 2-inch safety pin. And you don't want to go smaller than that. When you're quilting and you're putting your 3 layers together, this is going to have to go through all 3 layers and then close. So if you go smaller than this, it gets kind of tricky. And this is for the basting, which is like putting those 3 layers together. So kind of near the end of the quilting process. And as you can see, I have a lot and I wish I had more. So don't worry about getting too many safety pins. when we get to the end of the quilt, you will be doing the binding, and that's the outer edge that kind of holds the quilt together on the seams, on the edge. And when you're doing that, you're gonna want these wonder clips. So you're gonna want a lot of them. I mean, you can work with a couple, but it's kind of like safety pins. You won't regret having more. You will also want some scissors. These I love, they're extra cute, but they don't need to be extra cute or fancy. Just any little scissors will do. You'll have strings and thread that you need to snip along the way. So some little scissors, a pencil. You'll be marking the pattern as you work. You'll also be marking your fabric according to which pattern you use. And a trick, a secret, I guess, that no one shared with me for a while that does not need to be a secret is using starch. So I will have a whole separate tutorial on starching your fabric. Just trust me that you want to treat yourself to starch. This is Faultless brand, premium. It's got the gold cap, and I honestly use about an entire can of this per quilt. So it's another nice thing to kind of stock up on and have on hand. And lastly, you will need an iron and an ironing board. So nothing fancy necessary, just an iron that doesn't leave rust on your cloth, on your fabric, and an ironing board that works. So that is everything that you need to get started quilting. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm here to help. And again, you can click on the link below to get the free PDF that will print off all this information that I've gone over for you. So happy quilting.